Lately, I be minding my business, walking somewhere, doing something, then just think about Nanami and feel bad. I could feel bad for starving people on this earth, war victims, or the few homeless people I just walked by, but you know, they aren't Nanami. This video will have Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 and 2 spoilers, you have been warned. It didn't take long in Nanami's career for the unfortunate events to unfold. Jujutsu Tag is understaffed. Cursed spirits are constantly born, but it seems like the amount of sorcerers, especially high-ranked sorcerers, is dropping. And just like with every workplace that is low on staff, the staff that is there becomes a victim of, some call it getting hoed. Overtime, extra shifts, tasks that aren't even your responsibility. Nanami Kento became a sorcerer at a young age. He attended Jujutsu Tag as a student and went on missions to take out cursed spirits like sorcerers do. Like I said, the Jujutsu world is low on sorcerers, so all the teachers and upperclassmen are busy dealing with their own tasks. So students going on missions by themselves is a normal thing, as long as it's a mission they can handle. But one day, Nanami and Yu Haibara were sent on a grade 1 mission that was mistaken for a grade 2 mission, and a cursed spirit stronger than expected pulled up on them like it's a WWE surprise appearance, and Nanami's friend Yu Haibara got body hoed. Nanami got absolutely traumatized, understandably, so he quit being a sorcerer entirely after graduating because he partially blamed the higher-ups for that mistake and didn't like the way he and his comrades had to sacrifice their lives for this. In his words,
"Jujutsu sorcerers suck."
He joined the corporate life and became a salaryman and strived to make as much money as possible so that he could retire at an early age and live a simple life in some cheap country. To him, that would bring him fulfillment. This was his end goal. So all he did day in and day out was work and daydream about living a secluded life on some beach. He never lived in the moment, except for when lunchtime came. Lunchtime to Nanami is what pretzel day is to Stanley. And lunchtime, Nanami was happy. Or at least the closest thing Nanami gets to being happy. He'd always buy a sandwich at a local convenience store, but then switch to a bakery when the convenience store closed down. Minor hoed. One day at the bakery, Nanami had a conversation with the baker and went on a tangent about how corporate jobs like his that add close to nothing to anybody's life or society have way better pay than jobs like bakers that do add a lot more to society and their community, and how that doesn't make sense. The baker didn't really get it, but that doesn't matter, because this was more Nanami talking to himself than trying to get a point across. The baker then mentioned the way she was feeling on her shoulders. Nanami saw that this was caused by a cursed spirit, so he helps her get rid of that, even though he had left the sorcerer life behind him. She thanks him. In that moment, Nanami realized something. Helping people is what brought him fulfillment. Being a sorcerer has a positive impact on people's life, and that was enough for him to consider being a sorcerer again. He also realized something else. I'll let Nanami say it himself.
That having to work for a living sucks.
Really?
So 4 years after he quit being a sorcerer, he returned to the low-staff Jujutsu Tag that was now even lower staff. Geto died. Yu's is on a mission overseas, and Gail Lewis retired, leaving only 2 special grades, Satoru and Yuki, and they are always on missions. So now, pretty much everything falls on grade 1 sorcerers like Nanami. The first time we meet Nanami is when he gets sent on an investigation mission with Itadori, and this investigation will lead him to special grade cursed Mahito, who is not only one of the strongest cursed spirits in history, but also has the most annoying abilities to go up against. For instance, he's immune to physical attacks, which is Nanami's strength. But he survived the fight against Mahito by making the right call on retreating. Also, this was Mahito at his weakest, but they end up fighting again the day after. And with the help of Itadori, they actually almost exorcise Mahito. But then he unlocks the ability of domain expansion mid-fight, and put Nanami in it, who can defend himself against it because he can't do a domain expansion or even simple domain expansion. He is pretty much standing in his only weakness. But he survives, thanks to Itadori entering the domain expansion with good old Sukuna. Mahito escapes, and after this arc we don't really hear much from Nanami, until the bad guys start their ultimate operation, catching Gojo and awaken Sukuna thingy, the start of the Shibuya incident arc. You could call it hoeing arc because everybody's getting hoed in this arc, but even in the hoeing arc, Nanami gets hoed extra hard. It starts with him patrolling the area with some students, until he hears that Gojo has been sealed, so he goes looking for Gojo on his own. While on the search, he finds one of his only friends, Ijichi, either dead or in a near-death state on the ground. Hoed. That made Nanami mad, and he messed the person up that did this. That was very satisfying, by the way. Nanami enters the underground metro stations with Maki and Naobiti, and they stumble upon special grade cursed spirit Dagon. The fight goes in their favor. Until it doesn't. Dagon does a domain expansion. Once again, Nanami's only weakness. But thanks to Megami infiltrating the domain expansion and creating a hole in the domain expansion, and thanks to Nanami known to cover Megami, they survive. Not because they escaped through the hole like they planned, but because Terminator unexpectedly entered through the hole and killed Dagon. Either way, they survived the domain expansion. No, wait, here comes the best part. All that for Jogo to enter the room and turn all of them to ashes within seconds, starting with Nanami. I partially blame Gojo for this, but more on that in a future video. But Nanami somehow survives that too, but doesn't leave unscathed at all. But he continues his search. He stumbles upon a bunch of curses. He fights them with the last bit of power he has left while dreaming about his dream of living his life on some secluded beach in a foreign country. He is tired. He is exhausted. That's when Mahito walks up and puts his hand on Nanami's back. Nanami sees his old friend, Yuhaibara, in front of him. He turns to Itatori, who just walked in, and says,
You take it from here.
Mahito! Mahito! You could argue with, that is just the life of a sorcerer. Yes, a sorcerer's life can be filled with struggle and losses. But a lot of these sorcerers go through the struggle with their homies. From what we can tell, the only homies Nanami ever had were Yuhaibara, who died in front of him, his upperclassman Gojo, who he barely sees, and Ijichi, who he also barely sees because he's the Uber. What kept Nanami going is, he found the meaning of life in helping others. And I think he did more than a great job, even if he got holed like no other. All his Nepo baby peers, who inherited strong curse techniques from their famous clans they were born into, wish they were Nanami.